Anti-apartheid activist Dr Allan Boesak is addressing a Friday prayer service at a mosque in Worcester in the Boland. Boesak has been a critic of the Israel-Hamas war, and his address comes ahead of the highly anticipated ruling by the International Court of Justice this afternoon. Let's listen in.
Sê in sy hart, daar is nie 'n God nie. And if you look around the world today and you ask yourself the questions, how it is that we can have 3 or 4 wars at the same time going on, even while those who are waging these wars know that they are inevitably losing all of these wars. That you have political leaders who make decisions that you sometimes think a child in primary school would not take. The level of stupidity is low. There is leadership with no vision at all. So in other words, no leadership. Hulle sê maar net en hulle doen maar net en hulle doen dieselfde ding oor en oor en oor met dieselfde foute, maar dit terwyl die bloed vloei. Why would they do something like that? One of the first things I began to ask when we started talking about the situation in Gaza and in Palestine was the question that came from Psalm 13 just before Psalm 14. And that's the question, how long? The psalm asks, how long, Lord, will there be sorrow in my heart day after day? How long, Lord, will I live with pain and suffering? How long, Lord, will you keep on forgetting me day after day? I wake up in the morning, I go through the day, pain and suffering, and at the end I think it's still not over. How long, Lord? And we ask that question ever since we began talking about the Nakba 75 years ago. How long, Lord, for Palestine? Today, though, because it's still going on, and today it is more intensified than ever, it is more brutal than ever, today it is more open than ever, it is as if they have no shame whatsoever. There's one lie upon the other lie. They cover up with untruths that they know by tomorrow those untruths will be revealed, and yet they go on worldwide television to say things that they know will be proven to be a lie by nightfall. So the question is not any longer how long. The question now is why do they do this? If you have a genocide that 3 months into this phase of the Nakba, because I do believe that we did not have one Nakba that stopped. I think we've seen an ongoing, continuing Nakba for 75 years. It's never stopped for Palestine and the Palestinian children. The suffering has never stopped. So the question is, why? The Israeli government knows it cannot steal people's land and get away with it. They know they cannot kill 30,000 people and get away with it. They know they cannot kill 10,000 children, not counting the ones still dying or lying under the rubble. They know you cannot target shelters for human beings. You cannot target schools where children go. You cannot target hospitals where sick people need to be treated. You know that you cannot do that, and South Africa has made that clear. In the case that we brought to the International Court of Justice, where today we will hear, and inshallah the truth will be spoken. And so they know that. They know that if they continue to do this, Israel as a state, and I say this as a man of God, Israel as a state as we know it today will not exist It cannot, because you cannot build your security on war and violence and the murder of children. There's no security for you. Why do they do that? I think Psalm 14 gives us the answer, my brothers and my sisters. Psalm 14 says, it's because the fool says in his heart, there is no God. And so if you think there is no God, you may be clever in the eyes of the world. You may be clever in the eyes of your cabinet. You may be clever in the eyes of some of your people. But in the eyes of God, you are a fool. And everything you do will be doomed by the foolishness. And that will follow you until you end. Because you think if there is no God, then everything is possible. If there is no God, there is no love for the neighbor. If there is no God, there is no accountability to anything or to anyone. If there is no God, then it means you think there is no day of reckoning. If there is no God, you think there is no day of judgment. Oh, you fool, God says, to think that you can use my name in vain. So you can see them doing this. Mr. Netanyahu does not even believe in God. Yet his whole ideology of Zionism is an atheistic ideology that has taken God out of the equation. All that counts for them is what human beings can do on all their plans, because it is based on colonialism, on land theft, on murder, on genocide if necessary, exclusion of other children of God as if they have no place in God's world, as if they can do with them what they want. That is the utter edge of foolishness. And that's why he thinks that he can manipulate God. So he quotes from the Bible because it suits him. He thinks that once he pulls God's name into it, everything is going to be all right. The man is a fool. Because that God that he thinks does not exist, does exist, and will call him to account.